Hey everybody, my name is Jody and I wanted to share something with you on how to have conversations and how to have a better conversation with people. Some people very naturally can have conversations and it comes very easily to them and they can engage back and forth, and for others, having a conversation is really hard. So if you're one who struggles with having a conversation and you would like maybe the conversations that you do have to be more conversational, I'm going to give you 20 tips on how to have better conversations. And it's a little bit more difficult now because we are social distancing. A lot of us are in lockdown. So it's harder to have a conversation now than it has been before. Maybe we're having more messenger conversations or Zoom conversations, but we can still improve the quality of those conversations by using these 20 tips. Okay, so the first one is, number one, listen well. Stephen Covey said that most people do not listen to understand. They listen to reply. So always take the time to really focus on what the person is saying. Don't focus on listening so that you can make a response or so that you can say something back, but really taking the time to actually listen to what they are saying and how they're saying it. Number two, when you're talking, be very clear and articulate exactly what you want to say. So try to gather your thoughts and organize them before you reply. And then, number three, speak in consideration of your audience. So you always want to take your audience into account when you're talking. When you're speaking directly to a person, continue that thread of conversation, but don't start off on some tangent that they would have nothing or have no idea what you're talking about. If you're talking to a group of people, then articulate to your audience on topic and what your audience would generally have an idea of what you're saying, what they would know, what their knowledge is. And in a conversational one-on-one, you want to do the exact same thing. You wouldn't talk to a child and speak to them something that would have something to do that a 40-year-old person would know. Keep your audience in mind when you're articulating what you want to say. And then number 4, make sure that your body language matches your message, or make sure that your body language goes along with what you're talking about. If you're talking about something that is exciting, you wouldn't want to speak very droll and very boring. If you are speaking about something that's really sad, you wouldn't want to be all hyped up and you wouldn't be all flamboyant. You would want to keep your body language and your tone of voice and what you're saying in conjunction with what you're actually talking about and to who you're talking to. So you want to do that. And the next one is don't talk excessively. In order to have a conversation, you want to keep it concise. You want to keep it with what you're talking about. So if you're talking one-on-one, there needs to be an interchange of conversation. You would talk and then let the other person talk. You don't want to out-talk everybody in the room. I mean, that wouldn't be a conversation. That would actually be a monologue. Okay? But if you're talking with a group, keep to your topic, keep to your timeline. So these are tips that will work a lot of times, not just one-on-one, but also when you're speaking to a group. And the next one is communicate in person whenever possible. Now it's really hard to do that because we're kind of, a lot of us are at home, we're doing the Zoom conversations or messenger conversations. A lot of us are in lockdown, so it's a little bit harder to do that. But sometimes it's easier to FaceTime someone or get on Zoom where you could actually see their face and you're not just texting, because texting conversations are really hard to actually get a feeling for the person and what they're saying, because a lot of times when you're talking to someone, you get that conversational feel by what? By actually looking them in the face, by watching their body language, by watching their eyes, their expressions, by watching their body movements. So when you're actually getting that, it's much more of a conversation. So try to do that. Hey, Rocio, thank you for joining me. So when you are actually having a conversation with somebody, try to get them on FaceTime or Zoom so that you can actually watch their body language. That helps a lot. Be mindful of what you are saying. That means don't talk just to be talking. Don't be talking just to fill the gaps. If you feel like there's a lag in the conversation, it's okay to have a little bit of silence. It's okay. That's part of a conversation, is to be conversational, and that you don't have to like fill it like a filler and just keep talking and talking and talking. Nobody's going to listen to that. So always be mindful of your conversation. And then don't talk excessively. Be balanced in your communication. And we discussed this a minute ago, how when you are talking, you want to be able to give the other person a chance to talk too. That is what a conversation is. It is two people, conversation, quality discussion. So you pause, give them a chance to reply, give them a chance to talk too. And that will help a lot in the conversation. And then and this is one of my favorite, is use open-ended questions. That keeps the momentum going. It keeps the lag out of it by ask them questions that require more than just a yes or no response, such as, so what do you think about that? So you're also getting their opinion on it. You're getting their thoughts, their feelings on it. So they're opening up to you. Okay? Search for commonalities. Ask a thoughtful but a probing question, such as, so tell me about yourself, or so tell me, what did you want to do about this, or what would be your suggestion? That way you get them talking and them opening up about themselves, and they're not going to sit there and think, well, this whole conversation was just about you. Then clearly identify what you think you heard. Especially now more than ever with people texting back and forth, you can think someone said something and totally misinterpret what they're saying, because you can't see their face, you can't really read their tone, you can't really get what they're saying. So like three people can say the same sentence and you're thinking totally three different thoughts about the same sentence, and perhaps none of them are correct. So always clarify what you think you heard. Say, hey, just to clarify, are you saying, and that gets them to open up too. So always, that's a very good rule of thumb, especially right now when we're doing more texting or we're doing more messenger than we are in speaking face to face. And number 13, tell a good story. A really good story doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be really in detail. It just needs to have a good background, elicit emotions, and then also have a good conclusion. So it just, as long as it covers those three things, always, hey, Carlita, and that if you cover those three things, then it helps you to be able to have a really good conversation. People remember stories. They always remember stories. You tell them a good story and they'll remember it, because stories are easier to remember. I mean, Jesus was the great storyteller. He would tell stories to help people to remember. And that is a good thing to do in our conversation, is to tell a good story. And number 14, be humorous, because humor actually triggers an endorphin and it releases social bonding. I did not know that. That was a surprise for me. So always try to be humorous, inappropriate with what you're talking about, but use a little humor. And number 15, use good manners, even in conversation. Always use good manners, saying please, thank you. It makes people feel better about the conversation that they had with you. They remember those things, that you used good manners. And always, this is number 16, and I really like this one. Keep your emotions in check, because you don't want to go all like, maybe you're talking about a subject that you're really passionate about, but something happens and you think about it in the moment, and all of a sudden you're upset about it, and you always want to keep your emotions in check. Okay? You're having a conversation. Keep it humorous, keep it serious, keep the conversation going, but try to keep your emotions in check. Have self-control. Number 17, ask how you can help. Maybe you're discussing a topic, and a good thing to do would be to ask how you could help them. Okay, number 18, don't offer unsolicited advice. Maybe someone's talking to you and all they really need is a listening ear, or maybe they just need to blow off some steam. That does not mean that you have to, pull out, hey, Double J, thank you for watching. That doesn't mean you have to give them all the advice in the world. Always just keep your advice, unless they ask for it, in check. Now, if they ask for it, that's a totally different subject. Then you go ahead and you tell them what you think, or you give them some good advice. And number 19, and this one is kind of hard, because sometimes when you're talking to certain people, they have a tendency to get really negative. So don't be baited into a negative conversation, because when you're baited into a negative conversation, then all of a sudden it just becomes a big ball of complaining, and you aren't helping the subject. When people turn away and they walk away and you walk away, you feel terrible, you feel down, they feel more down. And right now we have enough negativity around us. So try to, yes, listening ears do wonders. So try to keep away from being negative. Don't be baited into it. If somebody says something negative, you can try to turn the conversation to a more positive turn. And if that doesn't work, just try to gracefully, using your manners, exit the conversation, because you don't want them walking away feeling worse. You don't want to walk away feeling worse. Always keep it going into a better direction. Try to leave the conversation better than you left it. My dad said, if you borrowed something or you used something of someone else's, always return it in better shape than you found it. We'll do that the same way with a conversation. Don't get into a negative attitude with it. Leave it better than you came to the conversation. Leave it on an upbeat note. Leave it on a humorous note. And even if you have to end it, try to do it using the manners, okay? And number 20, be curious. Always be curious about the other person. Ask questions. Ask thoughtful questions. So what do you do for a living? How have you been lately? Get them talking about themselves. Get them opening up about them. And that way it will do wonders for the conversation. I really hope these have helped, and I will talk to y'all soon. Please share this video so that others can get some benefit too. Oh, and I did want to remind you, if you reach out to me, I have 20 tips for if you feel like you're insecure about having a conversation. I have tips to help you, besides these, how to feel more confident in yourself in order to have a conversation. So reach out. All right, talk to y'all later.